Shalom, fam. It's your brother Maccabee Ben Israel of the Remnant.
Shalom, family. It's your boy right here, man. Yenivia Ben Israel of Humble Hebrews.
And this is Israel of the Remnant.
We got a lesson today based on law and based on the society of our so-called black people today. Just for starters, this is not legal advice. The advice given today is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. If you need legal advice, seek yourself a competent counsel, and please be advised. For starters, I want to talk about the country that you know is America. It does not exist today, lawfully. Right now, you do not exist lawfully. I want to start out with scriptures, and we're going to go slowly but surely into some deep information dealing with this concept. Job 9:24, you will get that from me, Aki.
Job 9:24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof.
Now, we know that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. The judges that you know as the saints or the Most High, the ultimate judge, you don't hear, you don't see about these people today like you should. And it's because that the laws of the Most High are covered with the wicked. They set up their own set of laws for themselves and to benefit themselves and to actually discredit and to deprive the indigenous of what is inherited, by the Most High to them. I want to go to another scripture, and then I want to go into some law and break down exactly what's going on in today's society. Another scripture is Daniel chapter 7, verse 25.
Daniel 7:25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time.
Now, we just read the scripture about the earth being given into the hand of the wicked. Now we are reading about the wicked changing the laws of the Most High and wearing out the saints of the Most High. And I want to give a short example of how we used to live compared to how we live today. Now, what you know as a sovereign, I know some of you watch cowboy Indian movies. You can see them draw out in front of sheriffs, in front of the sheriff's department with no problem. They would handle their business. If somebody died, that was just what it was. Now, today's society, you have the police that interfere with anything and everything, right or wrong. Now, this is because after 1868, you have what is known as a corporation and not a country. It's a big difference, and what a lot of people don't know today is America is not a sovereign country. It is not a republic, whatever you want to call it. It is a corporation, and it's set up as a monopoly. We're going to get into that, but just for information, the system has reverted back to old rulers' law with nobles and lords. And these nobles and lords reign over the loyal subjects, and you and I today are the loyal subjects. Now I want to go into the Black's Law Dictionary and get a definition of maritime law, because today we don't operate under common law, the laws of the Most High, whatever you want to call your law. We operate an international maritime admiralty law, if you want to or not. That's just what it is today, and we the people do not exist today, and I'm going to prove that today. Give me a script, get Deuteronomy 28:68 while we get this definition. Maritime.
Deuteronomy 28:68.
Excuse me.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Now, that scripture right there is really deep just on this subject, because it's a whole method of commerce. I would call it commerce that we don't know about, that we have everything to do with. Today, you and I are what they call vessels, and we exist for tax purposes only. Now, I'm going to throw something else out there and just let you know America is bankrupt. I'm going to prove that in a few. Let's just go over this definition of maritime law.
How you spell it?
M-A-R. I get it in my Now, a lot of people today are thinking that we're a lot freer than we used to be. And in a sense, I can understand why you think that. But, I mean, they really just took the chains off of our neck and wrapped it around our minds. So we would become willing slaves, loyal subjects, like I quoted earlier.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Definition of maritime law in the Black Law Dictionary: that which the Congress has intact the federal courts sitting in admiralty or in exercise of the maritime jurisdictions have declared and would apply. That system of which particularly relates to marine commerce and navigation, to business transactions at sea, or relating to navigation, to ships and shipping, to seamen, to the transportation of persons and property, sea and to marines affairs generally.
So we didn't know. A lot of us still don't know today. Coming over here on those slave ships, we were actually property and still are property today. Now, some of us knew we were property when we came over here, but thought we was free after Emancipation Proclamation or whatever you call that. But in fact, it is a lie. They just formed up another way of enslaving the people, and it was by way of adhesion contract. And I don't want to go too far off subject, so I'm going to leave that where it is and go into one code that I would advise you all to look up on your own. This is Uniform Commercial Code, subsection 7-202. And then this description is speaking of a warehouse receipt, forms of a warehouse receipt. Now, when a ship pulls into port, it's in its berth. Consequently, it's at its dock. So when a woman goes give birth, she's at the dock, right? So all ships are she's because they produce. All men are male because they manufacture. This is a deep subject. I'm going to leave that where it's at right now because I want to have something to give to my people for another lesson. I want to give all the beans right now, spill the beans right now. But just dealing with the birth certificate and dealing with ships, a certificate of manifest. Now, when ships are on the dock, whenever they have the product and are about to release the product cannot be released without the certificate of manifest. So what the certificate of manifest is doing is giving you the information. It's describing the goods, it's describing when, where, how everything happened. So for instance, the issue date would be on the warehouse receipt. A serial number, some type of, number identifying this object. Location of goods, description, quantity, how many, if it's a car, how many doors, what color, specific information, pertaining to this product, the weight, the color, and a signature by an agent. Now, just a little, test, little homework for y'all at home. Pull out your birth certificate and look up, Uniform Commercial Code 7-202. And you do the test yourself. You will see the issue date. You will see at the bottom you have a signature, registrar, and the root word is Regis, R-E-G-I-S. Look that up on your own time too. You got the name of the product, the description, male or female, whatever you. And at the bottom left-hand corner, look that up in your own time. You will see American Banknote Company. Give me that definition, banknote, in the Black's Law Dictionary. In that bottom left-hand corner, you see American Banknote Company.
Banknote: a promissory note issued by a bank or banker authorized to do so, payable to bearer on demand and intended to circulate as money.
Intended to what?
To circulate as money.
So, this is a negotiable instrument. They won't let you know that because what they do is send it to New York, and they make trillions off of your bond. I'm gonna break that down and explain exactly how this happened. Now, this is going back to 1666, during the Black Plague. This is actually a form of new slavery. It's operating as an economic capacity and is not intended to govern the republic. But what they did was set up under Admiralty law, a trust. They announced during the Black Plague that all human beings, man and female, were lost, or dead beyond sea, dead or lost beyond sea. And he or she could come back and reclaim those titles, but what happened is the titles that so-called person was supposedly owned was taken into a trust. This is admiralty law by way of a bankruptcy. It was a bankruptcy. So they took all the property into a trust, and the state became trustee holding all titles. So what that does for me today is, with this birth certificate being sent to Washington, D.C., I'm entered, or this name, not me, this all capital name is entered in the Department of Commerce. They notify the Treasury. The Treasury notify the Federal Reserve, so they take out loans, create more money. This is how more money is created. So my name is backed up behind that. I'm going to tell you how that happened. So 1933, America was bankrupt. Now, this is a kind of puzzling on how this is just, collapsing and how it's happening repeatedly. I mean, these people are greedy. They're going to take and take and take until they just can't take no more. But what a lot of people don't know is that America is incorporated into London. So with this birth certificate, I'm lost beyond sea too. So they're not going to tell us that they continue to create money off of our name and me announcing myself as a citizen, I agree to it. They don't want to tell us that because their game is pretty much up after that. So going back into my notes, America is incorporated into London. Look up the Act of 1871. This act formed the District of Columbia. This act alone. So like I said, this is new slavery. Give me the definition of corporation. I was saying earlier that America is not a country, it is a corporation. Now, just think to yourself, why do you have a president? Why do we have to deal with presidents and not king or queen?
Corporation. An artificial person or legal entity created by or under the authority of the laws of a state. An association of persons created by a statute as legal entity. The law treats the corporation itself as a person which can sue and be sued.
Whoa, repeat that last part for me one more time.
The law treats the corporation itself as a person which can sue and be sued.
I really want him to repeat that for y'all because I know it already. But, sue or be sued, this is why we end up in the courtrooms. I mean, as a sovereign man, we shouldn't be going to a courtroom because I am the law. I mean, this is just the mindset that they took us away from. So when we come over here now, by adhesion, by us being ignorant and not understanding how to read, we fall into this trap. And now we got the chains taken off our hands and now they put it on our mind. Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed. Go ahead, Aki. Get that for me. And while you getting that, get the definition of person for me.
Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge.
Dang.
Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee.
So, that's it.
There's more of this.
So, right now the Federal Reserve knows that circulating is owed to somebody by somebody. The money in my pocket is owed to somebody by somebody. So, you see on the dollar bill, you got "In God We Trust." I want my people to sit and think what God you really putting your trust into when you depend on these Federal Reserve notes, because pretty soon, real soon, these Federal Reserve notes is going to be done. It's not going to be in existence. So what will you be using? What will be your survival tactics? This is the type of mindset we have to prepare for because our people have been in a state of emergency. America's in a state of emergency too. A lot of our people don't know that. But martial law, that's because of a state of emergency. Now go ahead, Ak, with that.
Persons, labor organizations, partnerships, associations, corporations, legal representatives, trustees and bankruptcies or receivers.
Now, you didn't hear one time a human being. Not one time. But read that last part about bankruptcy.
It says, corporations, legal representatives, trustees and bankruptcy.
So, that trusteeship that the title is holding is basically a role set up. Trustee, beneficiary, executor, these roles are set up when a trust is set up. When you go into a courtroom, the roles are reversed. Like I said, this all capital name, it was created by the state. It's not my name. So when I go into the courtroom, this belongs to them. What they do is make me admit to being this person, so I become a citizen, corporation, employee, an entity. Get the definition of entity for me. So, this corporation was created by Franklin D. Roosevelt and his affiliates, the private bankers. They needed a way to get out of their distress, their famine, whatever they want to call it. So they decided to back up the dollar bill by the people. Franklin D. Roosevelt, he took loans out from the private bankers and he couldn't pay it back. This was in 1913. 20 years later, he couldn't pay those loans back, so he decided to back it up by the people. So the people, the U.S. citizens, those loyal subjects, you are the collateral for the American debt. And soon enough, it's going to get real. So I want my people to take heed to the word of the Most High.
And I want to add that to that. A book that y'all can really get that he just touched on, get The Creatures of Jekyll Island. That goes over this Federal Reserve and what Franklin D. Roosevelt did in 1913 and 20 years later that the American went bankrupt.
Okay.
The Creatures of Jekyll Island. So the definition of entity, a real being, existence. An organization or being that possesses separate existence for tax purposes.
Okay, separate existence for tax purposes. This is the name I was telling you about that has a separate existence. Call it a straw man. Look that up on your own. I would advise my people to get a Black's Law Dictionary too. Black's Law Dictionary, I would say go before 6th edition. If you can get 4th, 3rd, 2nd, that's perfect. But whatever you can get a hold to, just go ahead and get a hold to that, so we can get on one accord with this knowledge and break free from this mental slavery. So, dealing with a corporation, a person, all this is pertaining to a bankruptcy state that the United States is, and now we don't call it America; it's the United States. The Constitution does not apply to us. One word changed the whole Constitution. If you would go and look that up, incorporated United States is the word there now. It's not America anymore. They're incorporated into London. So, like I said, Franklin D. Roosevelt, he backed up the American debt by the citizens. This was after World War I. Excuse me. And they needed money. So I talked about the original birth certificate. You have the copy. I told you where the original was sent to. So that straw man that was created when you were born is on the stock exchange in New York. And these creditors are trading on it. And when they announce this bankruptcy, just like all law goes, you either pay up or you work. That's why they have the human resource center wherever you go and get a job. You are a human resource today. You don't have to work, but by adhesion, you can't get no food or no water unless you go make those Federal Reserve notes. So it's time to wake up to a new state of living and be set apart like the Most High told us to, because in Genesis 1:26, he blessed us with the fish of the sea, the fowl of the air, everything in between. So why do we have to ask another being for something that we was blessed with? It doesn't make sense. And this is a perfect time to get page 39 of Valley of Dry Bones.
All right. This is the Valley of Dry Bones
By Rudolph Winston.
by Rudolph Windsor. And we're reading from page 39. Henderson contends that if the black community allowed outside agencies to do the job that they could be doing in the home and in the community, then more and more black youths would fall by the wayside. He suggested that many of these youths could be saved, but would instead wind up on a conveyor belt that begins with petty crime and ends with a lifetime of criminal activity and incarceration.
Now, before you read 36, I'm going to just quote out 27 CFR 72.11. And if you go look that up, you will see that all crimes today are really commercial. All crimes are commercial now because they needed a way to tax us or make us become, enslaved by another way, voluntary or involuntary. So we're going to get in the 13th Amendment and read exactly what they did when they took away slavery. Supposedly.
Yeah. 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which abolished slavery and involuntary servitude in 1865. That's what it says. That's where I ended.
You got the back to it. You see that right there? You can read section 1, then read that one right there.
All right. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction, therefore, are citizens of the United States and of the states where they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of the citizens of the United States. Nor shall any states deprive any persons of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any persons with this jurisdiction the equal protections of the laws. Keep going.
Where you at?
Section 1. Yeah, I read that all that.
Okay, so what they did was free us, except, it's on a basis. If we get convicted of a crime, we go back to slaving, laboring for somebody else. And I just read in 27 CFR that all crimes really are commercial. Me jaywalking. I mean, get corpus delicti out for me. A real crime is supposed to be evidence. You're supposed to have a body to support that. That's the evidence. If I committed a crime, it should be somebody missing something, or it should be an injured party. But today you got crimes. Jaywalking, it's a crime. Littering, it's a crime.
Speeding.
I mean, you got all kinds of crimes today that's not really crimes. They just changed the laws. They was able to change the laws because they created a fake government. A de facto government is not a real government. Get de facto for me after my fault. Slakia. Get corpus delicti, and then we're going to get de facto.
All right, corpus delicti, the body of a crime, the body upon which a crime has been committed, the corpse of a murdered man, the charred remains of a house burned down.
Right then, you heard the remains of a man. Somebody's injured or dead, or a charred, burnt house. Somebody's property is missing or damaged. So that's a crime. Without that, you don't have a crime. But today we got penitentiaries filled up with so-called black men because they committed crimes that's not really crimes. Now that's what they did when they changed the 13th Amendment and made us citizens. We are new slaves. This is just new slavery. So, I mean, the men are missing today because we fallen by this system that's set up against us. Now, get that last definition of de facto for me, because this is the reason they're able to pass these different laws, these statutes, policies, and codes that don't apply to us. Go ahead.
De facto. In fact, indeed, actually. This phrase is used to characterize an officer, a government, a past action, or a state of affairs which must be accepted for the practical purposes but is illegal or illegitimate.
So it's illegal or it's illegitimate, but it's accepted for practical purposes. So when you have a law attorney that's practicing at law, she's not in it. You got, what's another example? You study at this different science or this different subject, but you can't master it because you're practicing it.
Like
so,
a doctor practicing.
Yeah, the police officer that's pulling me over for driving without a license, he's practicing. This is all practice to him.
Malpractice.
It's in the words. We backed up by a spell. We fallen victim because of a literal spell. All this is based on witchcraft and ritualism. So, by way of legalese, we subject ourselves to these different, jurisdictions and authorities that don't apply to us because the Most High is our authority. And at the end of the day, we got to question that when it's not in our favor. The Most High is in our favor, so it's something we're doing wrong. Now, the system, like I said, it's de facto. It's set up for practical purposes. So when they come at me and pull me over for a crime, it's a practical crime. So I got to go and approach it like what it is. It doesn't apply to me. I'm a real human being. This is practice. What you doing? Show me something real. So at the end of the day, Exodus 18 and 25, Israel is the real government. Now, slowly but surely, we're going to get back to that. But right now, we're in a spiritual, Ephesians 5 for me. We're in a spiritual warfare. And I need my brothers to really take heed to that because we outside still killing each other. And we got to understand that the real battle is not even between us. It's way bigger than that. We have to learn how to love each other and overthrow this government that's really killing us because they're the reason that we hate each other in the first place and see each other as an opponent in the first place. So, I mean, it goes a long way, but I got like 2 more scriptures that I want to give to my people, and I want to close it out. But what was that? I got you reading the 36?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll read 36 first. This is also from the Valley of Dry Bones, page 36, also called New Forms of Slavery. These industries were established under the control of Northern capital. Southerners did not have any great amounts of capital after the Civil War. Some of the big names in Northern monopolists, who moved in the South were Thomas Ryan, Jacob Sheaf, and August Belmont. Another industrialist, J.P. Morgan, developed the Southern Railroad from the West Point Terminal Railroad. By 1908, Morgan had taken over the Tennessee Coal, Iron, and Railroad Company. With all of this, northern investments in the South, there was a great demand for cheap labor, and it was really found among poor whites and blacks. Aptheker reveals that to us, the Northerners, in collaboration with the Southerners, subjected the blacks to the most brutal exploitation.
Pause right there, Aki. A lot of us don't know that during this time, these people became, they were in cahoots with each other. The northern, I would say the 13 colonies, these private bankers, they really took over the government. They paid the Southerners for the slaves, maybe $200-300 per slave. And they really just transferred the old slavery to the new slavery, and all the Southerners went into the White House, went into the Sheriff's Department, and the Klans that we used to see killing our people on the streets are just now chasing us down and killing us in another way. It's nothing really changed. So this is the steps that they took, to form us up into a new way of serving them. Go ahead,
Perlow to make this point clear about the Northern capitalists and the Southerners, their economic course was to prevent the Negro people from getting the land. Northern bankers, merchants, and manufacturers derived the lion's share of the profits from its operation, with the Southern landowners as junior partners and overseers.
Pause right there. They needed to wipe us off from being a nation before they can do that. Because we are heirs of the land. Now, you have so-called Jews over there in Israel right now digging up gold, digging up anything they can dig up because, they want control of the land. But it's really belonging to the people that's in captivity right now. So without a land, without a language, without a culture, what are you really? Because we just looked up what a person is. We just looked up what, you are pertaining to when it comes to American standpoints or the United States standpoints. A black person does not matter. Today it's 2018. We still doing civil rights movements. We still doing the Black Lives Matter. It really don't matter. Black is a color. So once you go into the colorable courts, look that up on your own time. You get these colorable authority figures, which is not realistic. These people who are just resembling something real. And this is all in the Black's Law Dictionary. You call yourself a color and you're dying behind that color because you don't exist as a person when you call yourself black. So if it's 18 nationalities on this earth, who do you belong to? And where's your land? Where's your language? Because at the end of the day, that's what's keeping you from surviving on your own. I know you got some information to piggyback off of some of what I'm saying. I don't want to keep going until the end.
No, you good. Pretty much, I'm gonna close this out with the monopoly. If you can look up monopoly for me, Unc, in the Black Law Dictionary.
Okay.
This is from the book Powernomics, as well. Can you pull up Job 16 and 11 for me, Unc?
Okay.
Like he said, this whole land is just pretty much in the hands of the wicked and oppression, as well. Can one of you guys put up Deuteronomy 28:48 as well? I'm gonna use these two key verses for this book, because people don't understand how this system is run. The old saying goes, my favorite saying goes, we play checkers, but the government, the elite, they play chess. And that's what it's all about. Can you give me that Job 16:11?
Job 16:11. God hath delivered me to the ungodly and turned me over into the hands of the wicked.
Who's the wicked today? Who we have to go to the banks today? Who we have to say, I need this loan? I need this. I need that. The word monopoly emanates from monarch. You know what that is, right? Monarchy. Came over there, what he said, London, England. Britain. They had a king. Chess once again. They playing these chess games with our minds that we don't see that. Pull up Deuteronomy 28:48 as well. I'm about to tell this in.
Deuteronomy 28:48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies,
Serving our enemies right now.
which the Lord shall send against thee,
Keep going.
in hunger
Do we own anything?
and in thirst,
Do we own any Gatorade, Coke, Pepsi, water, even alkaline water that y'all we love to drink that gonna be unhealthy? Keep going.
and in nakedness,
Do we own the clothes on our backs? What about my earrings in my ear? Do we own that? No, keep going.
and in want of all things.
We want all things. Can you read the Monopoly for me, Uncle, in the Black Law Dictionary?
Monopoly, a privilege or peculiar advantage vested in one or more persons or companies, consisting in the exclusive right or power to carry on a particular business or trade, manufacture a particular article, or control the sale of the whole supply of a particular commodity.
Pause. Because in the book it says a monopoly conveys the ultimate source of power, wealth, and control to a person, groups, or business. When a business entity, and he just brought up what entity is in the Black Law Dictionary, has a monopoly. You ever play the game Monopoly? How everything has a price, how you shake the dice, how everything you buy has a consequence, it has a decision and a consequence. It dominates and controls nearly all aspects of an industry and can use its massive power to raise barriers, control markets, and bankrupt competitors. How many times the United States been bankrupt? In my uncle said 1933, but prior to that, 1913, and the prior years of that. Don't believe the Great Depression was the first bankruptcy. It was before that. A national monopoly says this, that protects the things that are strategically vital to the government itself. Ain't the government trying to protect itself from bankruptcy?
Okay.
Being greedy, trying to get all the money in that they can to protect the so-called people of the United States. But we really are slaves today. He just read in Deuteronomy 28:48. We don't own anything. That's why the government's trying to protect itself. And it says this, and this will really trip me out. The United States Constitution codified whiteness as a national asset. I'm going to read that one more time. The United States Constitution codified whiteness as a national asset, meaning they don't give, I'm not going to cuss on this little video, they don't give a damn about us. What color you are, the dominant culture care about themselves. So we get killed in the streets, it's just another tax off, another write-off. We don't mean anything to them. And another one. But this is what people keep going. Asians are on probation to be classified as white. Asians are in our community every single day. But guess what? The third stage, I'm gonna end it with this. The third stage is a share monopoly. A share monopoly is a composite of collusive and national monopolies. I just read national monopoly. It's strategic to protect the government itself. It reaches maximum effectiveness when the members of a group work together to control or drive competition out of the marketplace. Small businesses have federal antitrust laws to protect them from the power of large corporation monopolies. But there are no constitutional or government provisions that prevent the white society as its feeder immigrant groups from shutting out blacks out of political and economic marketplaces.
Nice. So,
And let me end one more thing. Can you pull up Psalms 2 through 11? I want him to read this whole thing. I want y'all to understand this because he has a precept for this.
hang.
Because y'all really don't understand this.
Psalms 2 and 11?
No, Psalms 10 verse 2.
No, 10 verse 2.
Yes, sir.
All the way to 11.
Yes, sir.
Psalms 10 and 2. The wicked in his pride doeth persecute the poor.
Ain't they doing it right now? Keep reading.
Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. For the wicked boasteth in his heart's desire, and blesseth the covetous whom the Lord abhorreth. The wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts. His ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above, out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. He hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be an adversary. Adversity. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. He sitteth in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places doeth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privily set against the poor. He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doth catch the poor when he draweth him into his net. He croucheth and humbleth himself, that the poor may fall by his strong ones.
Now, what the government doing with us when he just say like that? What would they give us? Section 8? Food stamps? And we running and cheering. Got my food stamps. Got a little house. Got a little protection. That's how they feed you in. That's how they align. That's how they don't give a damn about the poor. That's how they so wicked, as Job 16:11 and Job 9:24 that he just said. And I'm going to end it with this. And this is how they classify. If y'all know what a 3-5 compromise is, this is still today into this world.
Perfect.
And it says this. Still established a system in which the radical group, defined as in white, could hold monopolies of wealth and political power over the subordinate black group that was classified as personal property and only 3/5 of a human.
Wow.
What is 3/5?
3/5 of a human. Now, under the 3/5 compromise, these Southerners needed our help, of course. So when it came to votes, they wanted to overthrow I'm not sure if it was North, but they needed our help. But with that, they created a 3/5 compromise to keep our votes from counting. So when it comes to, let's say, me and you we got this good brother that we got, real good feelings about, that can be a brother, and it could change our way of living for us because we slaves right now. They gonna stop us from getting our votes to count because they know we voting on you. So if we trying to get this count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If all of us is 3/5 of a whole human being, do we really matter to the other majority of the white people that's voting? So the 3/5 compromise was set up to deprive us from rights, just like any other act or law that they pass against us is to deprive us of rights.
What we lacking from being a fool?
Oh, brother, I would say knowledge. That's perfect. I'm glad you asked that. Give me Proverbs 21:16. What are we lacking? How can we be a full human? You know what I'm saying? What's making us different?
24,
Proverbs 21:16. What's making us different from the other human beings? Ain't no other human beings. We the man of color. That's what human is. Just to get aside the law, human is man of color.
Means color.
So
Hue and
How we
means
not
color,
human?
Man means man.
how we not pure human?
We lack nationality in the Constitution.
Say it again.
We lack nationality in the Constitution.
Cain. I'm glad you said that.
All right, Proverbs 21:16. The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead.
First, we have to understand what type of situation we in. Once we go back to reading and comprehending this state of existence, we can then overthrow what is this wicked government that we see going on. Because a lot of us, we don't see it. Like he was just reading, a lot of us just gonna fail because we just don't see it. But today, we read in Hosea 4:6, we are destroyed by lack of knowledge. We're reading right now that the man who wandered out of the way of understanding remains in the congregation of the dead. So, I don't know how many more ways we can do it. We got, did you get Capitis Diminutos Maximus? Get that for me. Because we looked up 1666, that act that declared us all dead in the eyes of the law. That's one way of showing you that you don't matter. This birth certificate that gives you my race. I don't have a race. I have a nationality. So we're gonna get Ezekiel 37, if you would, in the Bible for me, and then we're gonna get what I tell you to get.
Capitalism.
Capitis Diminutos Maximus in the Black's Law Dictionary.
Capitis Demunto Maximus. The highest or most comprehensive laws of status.
So that Latin word you hear capitis is capital. So your name in all capital letters gives you no status. The highest extent of loss of status.
Gives you go back to that monopoly.
Back to the monopoly.
Bruh.
So one more in the contract law book. I got one more page. Just I say 2 minutes. You can go and start reading it if you want to.
37.
Ezekiel 37. Now, this is pertaining to us being, dead, being that we are lost at sea or dead to the eyes of the law. This was prophesied. Now, it was prophesied. We're gonna wake back up. He about to get there right now.
Start at the top.
Yeah, 37:1.
The hand of the Lord was upon me, and carried me out of the spirit of the Lord, and set me down in the midst of the valley which was full of bones, and caused me to pass by them round about, and behold, There were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Lord God, thou knowest. Again he said unto me, Prophesy unto these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord God unto these dry bones, Behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live. And
Now, go ahead.
Okay. And I will lay sinews upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and ye shall live, and ye shall know that I am the Lord.
So these are not physical bones that are out here dead. These people are living, but in a state of, mental death, lack of understanding, just like we just read in Proverbs 21:16. So this prophecy is Israel waking back up. Now, we're going to touch
Hallelujah.
on, the remedies and different stuff like that in another lesson. But just to close out, I got one more example of bargaining power. We were just talking about monopoly and, what these people are doing today. Now, this is in the Constitution. The Due Process Clause, United States Constitution, Amendment 5, and Roman numeral, was that
14.
14. And the Contract Clause, United States Constitution, Article 1, subsection 10, provide the constitutional safeguards of liberty of contract. We all have the right to contract. Without the understanding of how to contract and comprehend a contract, we can fall into adhesion contracts and become accommodated parties, which is really signing up to take on the liability of somebody else. And that's exactly what we did in America. We took on the liability of America's debt, and we don't call ourselves Israelites no more, Hebrews no more. We so-called black citizens, African-American citizens. So this is page 10 in the Brian Blum's contract law, contract examples and explanations. Section B. One of the parties has greater sophistication and bargaining power than the other. In some cases, this imbalance of bargaining power is so great that the stronger party is able to insist that it will only contract on its own terms. A consumer who buys an insurance policy, an airline ticket, or a software program may have some limited ability to select among alternative terms, but is otherwise unable to negotiate much of the content of the standard contract used by the dominant party. This is an example of what we're dealing with right now with these Federal Reserve notes. My brothers and sisters have to go into a 9-to-5 or any type of plantation and work because of the bargaining power that they have over us. We have to unlock that bargaining power and realize what value we have in ourselves first. So with that being said, peace, shalom, family, and that will be the end of our lesson.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
Yeah. I owe you everything, yo. Torah, what I buy. Yeah. Yahuwah Eloheinu, Yahuwah Akkad. I love you with my mind, body, and soul, cause that's my job. Yes. If I ain't praising your name, I'm diving in your word. Michael Phelps with the scriptures got me high as a bird. Chewing on the bread of life, set apart, unleavened. Trying to get first dibs on any seed I can in heaven. And when you bring your kingdom down to earth, I'm chilling with my brethren. Ain't gonna be no 1 through 6. Every day gonna be a 7. And right now, in this captivity, it's only you I reverence.